General Banks's preparation is of a piece with this attempt to prop up the Negro. Let him fall if he cannot stand alone. If the Negro cannot live by the line of eternal justice, so beautifully pictured to you in the illustration used by Mr. Phillips, the fault will not be yours. It will be his who made the Negro and established that line for his government. Let him live or die by that. If you will only untie his hands and give him a chance, I think he will live. He will work as readily for himself as the white man. A great many delusions have been swept away by this war. One was that the Negro would not work. He has proved his ability to work. Another was that the Negro would not fight, that he possessed only the most sheepish attributes of humanity, was a perfect lamb or an Uncle Tom, disposed to take off his coat whenever required, folded his hands, and be whipped by anybody who wanted to whip him. But the war has proved that there's a great deal of human nature in the Negro, and that he will fight. As Mr. Quincy, our president, said, in earlier days than these, when there is a reasonable profitability of his whipping anybody. Oh, wait. But the war proved that there's a great deal of human nature in the Negro, and that he will fight, as Mr. Quincy said, in earlier days than these. He will fight when there is a reasonable profitability of his whipping anybody. I offer these resolutions with good intentions. I believe that there is a need for immediate relief to the poor people of the state. I know from my experience among the people, there's a pressing need for some measures to meet the wants of the utterly destitute. The gentleman says that it will only take money out of the treasury. Well, that is the intention. I do not expect to get it anywhere else. I expect to get the money, if at all, through the Treasury of the United States or some other department. It certainly must come out of the government. I believe such an appropriation would remove a great many of the difficulties now in the state and do a vast amount of good to poor people. It may be that we will not get it, but that will not debar us from asking. It is our privilege and right. Other conventions have asked from Congress appropriations. Georgia and other states have sent in their petitions. One has asked for $30 million to be appropriated to the southern states. I do not see any inconsistency in the proposition presented by myself. Now, suppose I should button up my coat and march up to your house and ask you for money or provisions.
Daddy, what fruit is this?
I don't know. I have no idea. When you had none to give, what would you think of me if I marched up to your house and wanted food and you didn't have nothing? You would do perfectly right to run the chance of getting something to eat. This is a measure of relief to the thousands of freed people who now have no lands of their own. I believe the possession of lands and homestead is one of the best means by which a people is made industrious, honest, and advantageous to the state. I believe it is a fact well known that over 300,000 men, women, and children are homeless, landless. The abolition of slavery has thrown these people upon their own resources. How are they to live? I know the philosopher of the New York Tribune says, root, hog, or die. But in the meantime, we ought to have some place to root. My proposition is simply to give the hog some place to root. I believe it is the proposition. I believe the proposition is sent to Congress. It will certainly receive the attention of our friends. I believe the whole country is desirous to see that the state shall return to the Union in peace and quiet, and that every inhabitant of the state shall be made industrious and profitable to the state. I'm opposed to this bureau system. I want a system adopted that will do away with the bureau, but I cannot see how it can be done unless the people save homes. As long as the people are working on shares and contracts and at the end of every year are in debt, so long will they and the country suffer. But give them a chance to buy lands and they become steady, industrious men. That is the reason I desire to bring this money here and to assist them to buy lands. I do not desire to have a foot of this land in the state confiscated. I want every man to stand upon his own character. I want these lands purchased by the government and the people afforded an opportunity to buy from the government. I believe every man ought to carve out for himself a character and position in this life. I believe every man ought to be made to work by some means or another. And if he does not, he must go down. I want to have the satisfaction of showing that the freedmen are capable and willing to work as any men on the face of the earth. This measure will save the state untold expenses. I believe.
Daddy, you make me some cookies?
No cookies for you. I believe go make your cookies. I believe there are hundreds of persons in the jail and penitentiary cracking rock day to day. Wait, pause. I believe there are hundreds of persons in the jail and penitentiary cracking rock today who have all the instincts of honesty and who, had they an opportunity to make a living, would never have been found in such a place. I think if Congress will accede to our request, we shall be benefited beyond measure to save the state from taking charge of paupers made such by not having the means to earn a living themselves.